Yes, people. How are we doing? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to the pole position pod. It's been a while, but the F1 season is just around the corner. I would probably say like under a month from now it starts. I think it starts in like under a month, Augustia. I'm not so sure when, but you can correct me if I'm wrong. But we're getting ever so closer to the new 2026 season, guys. I can't wait. A lot to talk about. Obviously, this is the off-season talk. This is going to be the early 2026 preview. Um, But also, we have some massive breaking news today coming in about Mercedes' engine. We'll discuss that on the show. All of that will be discussed in today's show. Also, we're going to discuss the cars that have been released so far. We're going to discuss the looks of the cars, kind of. Sort of what we did last year, the last year's preview. But we're going to get to that. People, the first thing you do on your way in is make sure you guys hit that like button. Make sure you guys subscribe. We're trying to get to 550 subscribers at least for now, which we're 5 subscribers away. I lost a sub, but unfortunately things happen. We'll get that back. Let's subscribe, hit that like button, and make sure you guys share it around with your friends and anyone who likes Formula One. And if any Formula One creators want to collab with me this season, feel free. Feel free. Me and Augustia, King, we'll all be there to collab. And yeah, let's get started, Augustia. How are you doing, man? Hope you're good. It's been a few days since we did a show together, but you know what? You're back. People say Augustia's gone missing, blah 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 blah, blah blah blah, all that crap. Well, look who's in the building.
Yeah. Thank you, Ekifin. It's a pleasure. All those rumors, I appreciate it. I appreciate all the love, people. But don't worry, it's just waffle. And over here, we like pancakes. We like Little Home far more than we like waffle, right, Ekifin? But yeah, it's a pleasure to be back. First show of the year, a 2026 Formula One season that will 100% be historic. Maybe some of the most unpredictable seasons in terms of results across the board, and expect the unexpected because we know less than we know more about what to expect. But the little that we do know about Formula One coming into this season, how it's a new era, the ground effect era, goodbye. Look at it at the window because it's gone forever. We're having a new era, a more technical plus manual era where we're combining how a Formula One car normally operates plus with technology. The cars are lighter, 30 kg lighter. The width of the cars are smaller. The tire width is smaller. Aerodynamics drag has been reduced, and basically the whole power unit system is completely different. It is a 50-50 hybrid, and which means the fuel is also very sustainable. Goodbye DRS. Basically a whole new game, a whole new setup. Now, coming into the season, of course, Ekevin, you and I both, the one thing we love to do is make predictions, right? We love to predict and forecast and be prophets on which team are going to pose themselves as the favorites. Is Max Verstappen going to win his 5th championship this decade? Lando Norris going to go back to back? Mercedes going to return to their dominance? They failed in the ground effect era. The era before that, it was their time. Are Ferrari, Williams, Aston Martin with Adrian Newey. But from all we've known so far, the turn of the end of last season to this season, there was one contender, Ekevin. One contender framed themselves as the heavy favorites. Even the man in the chat, Tifosi, agreed with that. It was Mercedes.
Let me know. I'll send you the link if you're free. Message me. I'll send you the link, bro. Big up to you, man.
Hop on, man. So there was one team that was the heavy odds-on bookies favorites, and they still are today. But after the end of the week, it might not be the case. That team was the Silver Arrows, Mercedes. And why, would you ask? So with these new regulations, there were certain guidelines that every team needed to match. So, for example, in terms of weight, in terms of speed, in terms of size, and what Mercedes did with their engine. I just want to pull this up to get the statistics correctly.
Yeah,
so there was a trick that Mercedes exploited with the rules. Basically, the compression ratio. The FIA limited it from 18-1 to 16-1. What does that mean for us layman people, for the non-Formula One experts? Basically means a lower ratio means less power on the car. So what the FIA wanted to do was manage the temperature, also manage the balance a bit better, and make the car and the racing a little bit more even. But what Mercedes did is they completely exploited that. So their compression ratio is 16-1 in the garage. But the moment the car comes out of the garage, Ekevin, their ratio is 18-1.
Okay.
Is that illegal? Is that illegal? Well, it is, because when they measure the car, it's 16-1. So Mercedes found a trick. Basically, when it goes on track, the car reaches optimal power, 2 levels higher than everyone else's car. And
Exactly.
what that means on the track, Ekavin, is every lap they can gain up to 3/10 on every team. Every lap, by the way. So Ekavin, some races last year were decided by 3/10 alone. The whole race, Mercedes will gain 3/10 a lap, every single lap. It might even be more dominant than they were in the 2020s. And they found a loophole. And a loophole isn't illegal. It's just gamesmanship. But obviously that's been met with pushback. Almost every single engine manufacturer and team in the garage, Ekavin, has had a problem with it. Ferrari have rallied against it. Racing Bulls have rallied against it. Audi have rallied against it. And today, the latest one, Red Bull have rallied against it. And according to the guidelines, you need at least 4 teams, the FIA and the F1 racing team, to basically veto whether something can be overruled or not. And reportedly, we have enough votes to veto Mercedes engine upgrade, which is just crazy. That's where we're at.
I hear you, bro. I don't, personally, for me, it's not right. You're giving it to a car that has 2 drivers that, to be honest with you, they're good drivers. Don't get me wrong. But are they championship caliber drivers? Not yet. They're not better than Max Verstappen. They're not better than, you know, I still argue they're not better than Lewis Hamilton still. You know, you have 2 of those drivers that, you know, out of nowhere are just gonna go and sweep the championship, like with that type of car, with that type of engine. I don't think it's fair, and it's never been fair. I don't know how Mercedes were allowed were even considered, or even allowed to consider bringing such an engine in. If you're gonna do such a thing, my solution would be, why don't you upgrade every other car's engines then? Ferrari's engine, Red Bull's engine, McLaren's engine, Mercedes engine, even Aston Martin's engine. What are those engines? Williams, you know? Make it all even. If you're going to upgrade the engines, upgrade everybody else's. Make it even. They're going to make Mercedes, I would say, like you mentioned, 3/10 better than everyone else. That's not fair. And to think that, you know, like you said, it's hard for me to even like explain, like, you know, such a decision. I'm glad it's been rejected, or I'm glad it's supposedly rejected. It would make the F1 season completely just dead rubber. No one's gonna want to tune in. Mercedes fans will sit back in their couches and just relax. Us Ferrari fans, you know, Red Bull fans, you know, McLaren fans, and all the other fans, Williams, you know, you name it. How are we supposed to enjoy the season if Mercedes is going to have the best engine, going to destroy everyone else, going to just kill everyone else on the grid? What will people talk about Max Verstappen? People be like, oh, George Russell's better than him. No. His car is just better. Max Verstappen is by far a better driver than George Russell. It's not even close. Sure, they've had a few battles here and there. But imagine George Russell being in a car that's clear, faster than Max Verstappen. I just don't see it, man. Don't see it. And I'm glad the FIA did something competent for once. Turning it down, turning the decision down. You know? Cool, they can make upgrades, but make even upgrades. Come on. It's a big brave. Yeah, I agree. A big brave move by Mercedes, sure. But exactly, like I said, it'll make the season boring. Mercedes is gonna totally dominate, bro. Red Bull, when they dominated the whole season, that was boring. I didn't enjoy it. When Red Bull completely took over that season, I was just like, yeah, just get me out of the season, man. It's same shit every single race. All they had was one race where they didn't win. That was Singapore. That's it. They had one race that they didn't win. That was Singapore. Let's go and look at, you know, I think Ferrari did like a whole season where they won every race. I think Ferrari did one time. but that's because like Schumacher and Raikkonen was too dominant of a duo. If you want it to be fun, make all the engines even. Whereas a fun season would be where we have Ferrari win one race, Mercedes win one, Red Bull wins one, McLaren wins one. Spread out. Make the title race even. Make it even. I want to see that. I don't want to see one team win it every single week like I saw McLaren did most weeks last season. That wasn't fun. I want to see it. I want to see the results spread out. You know what I mean? I want to see the results on a weekend basis spread out. We need to have different winners on a weekly basis. We need to have different champions. We need to have different. We need to have more competition. There's too less competition on the track, in my opinion. I hope the new system and I hope the new engines will make it fair. I hope it'll be fair. But I don't know. I don't really have much to say on that. I'm just gonna give my thoughts on that. Well, I don't know if you want to add any more on that.
Okay, I can address every single comment you just made there about what you hope and what you don't hope. When you said initially, what was the purpose of the new regulations? It was to make things fairer. It was to make things more competitive, especially on street circuits, especially at Singapore, especially at Monaco. So what they did for that, Ekavin, is instead of DRS, right? Because every time a car is within a second of the opposing car, DRS just means you either have a DRS train or you zoom around ahead of it. There is no wheel-to-wheel racing that is sustainable or sensational. So what they did is, Ekavin, by 30 kg, they narrowed the weight of the cars. So they're making it faster. They also made the width.
Sorry to cut in. But finish your sentence, please. I'll ask you the question.
So they decreased the weight of the cars. They also narrowed the width and the length. So the cars are smaller than they ever have been, which means when it comes to overtaking, which means it'll be more fun for us fans, right? And there are more overtaking opportunities. And on top of that, no more predictable DRS for everyone. It's a manual overtaking button. So the drivers have complete autonomy over how they overtake. So when you get within a second of the car in front of you, you will still have a boost, Ekavin, but DRS is not automatic. The driver basically, based on how much energy they saved, because Ekavin, the car is also electric. It's 50 electric, 50 regular. The drivers have to save up battery throughout the lap. So depending on how much battery the driver saved up throughout the lap, they can excrete as much power as they can with the manual overtake button. So it is going to be more competitive. It will be chaos at first. Like genuinely, drivers might have to withdraw from races, Ekavin, because they might not be able to manage their battery correctly. It'll be chaos, but it'll be competitive. Now, to your point, Ekavin, on Mercedes, and to your point, Tifosi, you guys hit the nail on the head. It's a big brain move, but I'm looking through the rules, and there are two different things. For the record, I'm not a Mercedes supporter. I've liked them in the past. I've had an affinity towards them. I think their racing has been beautiful, and their messages have been masterful. But Lewis Hamilton winning his 8th is far more interesting to me, Ekavin. Max Verstappen winning his 5th is far more interesting to me as well. But unfortunately, guys, as much as I may not want Mercedes to win this championship, I don't see them breaking any rule. I just think, as we called it, they exploited a loophole. Because, guys, what does the loophole, Ekavin, what does the rule state? The rule states that the engine compression has to be 18 to 1. 16 to 1. Static. So Mercedes have managed to achieve that. It is 16 to 1 when it's static. But when it is on the track, it is 18 to 1. So I guess there's a MotoGP race happening outside my room right now, by the way, for those who heard that. But is it fair? I want to ask you guys in the chat. Ekavin, I want to ask you if you're there. Is it fair? Because Mercedes didn't break a rule. And if I'm making the legal case for Mercedes, I can be like, okay, other teams, you guys are envious. You guys are jealous. But Ekavin, what rule did they break? And I know technically, for the competitiveness of the sport, we want this to get overturned, right? Otherwise, we know who's going to win the constructors before the year even started. It'll be Mercedes. Yeah. But if you're Mercedes, don't you think it's a little bit harsh? Because they didn't break a rule.
It's harsh. Sorry?
They didn't break a rule. They followed all the rules. They just found a loophole around it. And if we restrict that, are we just restricting merit? Are we restricting equality of opportunity? Are we destroying creative freedom and innovation? I think it's a big case, yeah. So what, are we in entertainment, or are we trying to see who's the best? Because if it's the best, Mercedes have won.
I'm in the middle. Okay. But I'm more to the side of I think it's unfair. I'll tell you why. Like I said, it's not fair for those who like it's not fair for those like McLaren, Ferrari, and Red Bull. I know Red Bull have had their fair share of issues in the past. I know McLaren have had a total dominant season last year. They dominated the whole titles last year, right? But I want to see a competitive circuit. I want to see an even circuit. The top 10 is near. That's what you want to see. I want to see massive. I want to see constant overtakes. I want to see constant, just battle. I want to see it on pretty much every single turn. Obviously, as a Mercedes fan, you want to see your car win, and I get that. You want to completely, upgrade your package. I get that, but think of the lesser cars. They can't do that. They don't have the privilege of doing that. How will they? They don't have the capital to do that. How will they feel? They're gonna feel that they've been how do you say it? It's just gonna sound the weirdest. Like, if I sort of gone against them,
they've been handicapped.
Thank you. They've been handicapped because they don't have the capital, they don't have the finances to build an insane car. Mercedes have the capital, they have the money, they have the power, they've got the structure, they've got the people behind that can get them to winning championships. But at the end of the day, how is it for other fans? It's almost as if people talk about Man City getting away with so many of those charges. How unfair is it for other clubs that they've got away with it, but then teams like Man City have gotten away with it, Everton have gotten away with it, didn't get away with it, Forest didn't get away with it, Leicester now got breached with some stuff in the championship. Sheffield Wednesday got breached, but that's because their people made mistakes. But Manchester City's owners got away with it. Whether it's the case or not, we don't know. But this is what I mean. You're so big when you can get away with such shit like this. Because Williams are only starting to get better. That takes away the good work of Aston Martin, who have planned ahead, who just brought in Adrian Newey, right? They brought in Adrian Newey. They want to become a championship team, but then they side with a team like Mercedes, who gives them an engine to just go and totally dominate the whole circuit. Bro, Mercedes gonna be ahead of the pack by, like you said, 3/10. That's crazy.
They can gain up to 3/10 a lap, not across the circuit. A lap.
You don't want that, do you? You don't want that.
Can I jump in real quick? Because you made a lot of sense. You gave the Manchester City example. You gave the other examples, and I can see some parallel. But I think there's a bigger difference. City have been charged with something because they broke a specific law. Or sorry, let me correct myself. I don't want to be defamed. No disrespect to Man City at all. City have been accused of violating the regulations because they broke a specific law. Kevin, I think there's a difference. I agree with you, but I think the reason we want to overtake this Mercedes engine upgrade is not because they broke a law. It's because we want to keep it competitive. I think, is that the harsh truth? Is that the harsh truth, Kevin? Because they didn't violate a single law. The FIA needed to do a better job writing the laws. And Kevin, we said this last season. Remember how many times they brought out a safety car or a yellow flag, and when they should have or when they shouldn't have? Do you remember how many times we complained about that? How many times we said, yeah, exactly, more times than we can remember. And remember what our solution to that was? Make the rules less unambiguous, right? Make it very decisive. Make it very, very clear. Leave less room for ambiguity. But they didn't follow that advice. They are a victim of their own regulations because the rule is your car compression must be 16:1 when the car is static. That's what the rule is. So Mercedes, when it's static, it is 16:1. But when it's lucid on the track, it's 18:1. Mercedes didn't break a rule. They just bypassed the rule. and there is no legal way of doing it. And I'll say this: Total Wolf is saying that the FIA even worked with Mercedes throughout the process, worked not help them, but basically monitor whether they're under the rules, and they approved it the whole time. The only reason there's pushback now is because, Ekevin, the people that are making the case that you're making, you're not alone. This all started, Ekevin, when Ferrari, Honda, and Audi came up and lodged the protest to the FIA. Did you hear me? The three engine manufacturers, Ferrari, Honda, and Audi, they went to the FIA, and basically what they said is the whole purpose of the new regulations is for parity and for competition. If Mercedes are allowed to do this, the whole point of the new regulations is wasted. What you're saying. They're making the argument that you're making, Ekevin. That's exactly what Ferrari is doing, by the way.
How do you think Lewis Hamilton would feel if he's not in that car with the upgrades? If he's not, Ferrari's not allowed to make those type of upgrades. If Red Bull can't make those upgrades, if McLaren can't make upgrades, how do you think everyone would feel? Like like I said, it's about fair. It's about fairness. And you mentioned about law. The law is there should be a limit to how much you can upgrade. Everyone else should have the same amount, and everyone should have the same.
No, wait. Let me clarify something, Ekevin. Mercedes didn't have an illegal upgrade. This didn't happen. What happened is, Ekevin, the compression of each car has to be 16-1. Mercedes compression is 16-1 when it's measured by the FIA, but when it's out on track, it increases to 18-1. And what happens when the compression increases to 18-1? You get around 15 to 20 more horsepower, and also you gain at least 0.3 a lap. The reason Mercedes are saying it is not illegal is because the rule states your compression has to be 16-1 when static. It never talks about on track. So while, yes, Mercedes are gaming the rule, they never have breached the rule. They just bypass something that is ambiguous but should be unambiguous. So when Total Wolf is saying we didn't break the rule, the FIA have been monitoring every single development, which is true, which is fact-checked. I'm not a Mercedes supporter, but it's a fact. They didn't break the rule. They just built something out of sheer innovation, sheer liberty, and equality of creativity. And but the argument that Ekevin, that Ferrari, Audi, and now Honda are making is that it destroys parity and it destroys competition. And they're Ekevin. I don't know if you read what they said, because the arguments that you just made, they're making the same arguments as you in court, which is crazy, by the way. So big up to you. They're making the same argument as you. They're saying this destroys the whole purpose of the new regulation.
It does. It does. You're right. I was just gonna ask you earlier, what's the limit? What's the weight limit for every other car? Like, because if they go on over or under, then that's then that's breaching it itself. Because Mercedes, like you said, the weight of Mercedes' car was also gonna increase, right?
No. So actually here. So the minimum weight, Ekevin, is 768 kg. Okay. And you need to be around the weight, otherwise we saw what happened last season. A little bit off, you get DQ'd. Remember, was it Ferrari who got double DQ? Or was it McLaren? It was McLaren in Vegas. Who got the double DQ. Ferrari also had one early on in the season. Them and Pierre Gasly in China. Every team, to my understanding, is still unable to fit the required weight. The only team
they got a grid penalty.
Okay, the only team, thanks for that. The only team that has the right weight requirements ahead of the season is Mercedes. Every other team is struggling. Ferrari are very close. Tifosi, you can correct me if I'm wrong. Every team is struggling. And to make it worse, Ekevin, in the test that we just had a few days ago, Mercedes ran the most laps. Mercedes on average had the fastest times. Mercedes' car had the least problems. Every other team is struggling. Ferrari caught them on the final day. Hamilton ended up with the fastest time. But as a whole package, Mercedes, and by the way, on top of that, not only have they built the fastest car, there is zero porpoising. None. No car bouncing at all. What they dealt with for so many years, done. They have basically built what Ken Miles has aspired to do, almost the perfect car. That's what happened. But the problem is, Ekevin, the point that you're making, is it fair?
It's not fair in terms of like I said, upgrade wise, it's not fair. in terms of winning, no. In terms of they want to win, it's not fair towards them. They want to win. They want to increase. They want to get better, because they've been under the cosh for a few seasons now. They've had that they've had that, I say, car regression, not car regression, but if you know what I mean, like in terms of like how the lack of improvement since Lewis Hamilton won his last championship, or since Lewis Hamilton competed for his last championship with Mercedes. You could see the downgrade. You could see the fall off. They want to get back to that level, but they felt that it's unfair that the FIA rejected that. However, they should consider that it's not fair for the rest of the league. If you know what I'm trying to say, I don't know about response to your, I don't know that answer to your question, but that's just what I think of it. I think it's fair and unfair.
Can I just add the likelihood of it staying or it going? Do you want me to say that or no? Because we're talking about whether it's fair or unfair. We know Ferrari have their opinion, Audi have their opinion, Honda have their opinion. Unfair, replace it, penalize Mercedes. Mercedes are like it's legal. Do you know what it would take to overturn this upgrade? Is it all noise, or is there actually some nuance that can happen? So according to the rule change, there are 7 different parties that look at this, Ekvin. It's the FIA, it's F1 themselves, and it's the 5 engine makers. Okay, these are the people that vote for whether the engine or this specific loophole should stay or should go. And now you don't need a unanimous majority to overturn this rule. What you need, Ekvin, is the FIA and 4 different engine manufacturers, or 4 different engine makers to overturn this rule. That is all you need to overturn this rule, Ekvin.
You just need. Sorry, say that again. You need what again? Sorry.
So you don't need the panel of people that will be deciding whether to overthrow this or not.
So you need
7 parties.
So
you need majority votes. At the moment, all we have is the FIA, Ferrari, Audi, and also Honda. We need one more. You need one more team for this to properly process. So Ekvin, today what the
Sauber, can they make a decision?
Even better. Today, the team that had been a little bit lenient towards Mercedes has turned their back on them. That team is Red Bull.
Okay.
So Red Bull today came out and basically ratted out Mercedes. They had ratted them out, and I'm going to pull up the quote. Red Bull informed other teams about Mercedes' trick. So Red Bull was the one that actually understood what they did, right? Because it seems like technically we'd all agree Red Bull definitely have the smartest technical team. They have for the longest time. They told all the other teams what Mercedes was doing.
Yeah.
And because they couldn't replicate it, I'm not joking. They leaked it to the other teams, and they're going to all file a complaint to the FIA.
Irony of Red Bull, though. I mean, you know what happened a few years ago. I mean, they breached cost cap, so.
Yeah, but at the moment, it's like the biggest villain's your biggest savior.
The biggest villain, the biggest savior is true, but at the end of the day, like, come on. We need to, like, we need more opinions from, I say, Williams or Aston Martin.
So here, I'll tell you. The reason McLaren and Williams won't do anything is because they're under the same engine manufacturer. So even if they don't necessarily benefit entirely, McLaren will gain some gains. So I think it'll be McLaren, Mercedes, Ferrari as the top teams. They would destroy their relations with Mercedes. Like, you can't have that. And Mercedes could, politically way out. So every other team outside of those is against them. Every other team is against Mercedes. And the teams that have the Mercedes engine are silent, and then Mercedes themselves are like, you guys are effing us up. So that's how we are at the moment. But it does seem like the FIA have enough votes to overthrow this machine.
Yeah. No, but this is what I'm saying. I think if the FIA speaks out about it, the FIA is the one making that decision, then I think they should be like, I think it's done, bro. Because the FIA is the one that makes the decision at the end of the day, right? They're the ones in control of the race action. They're the ones in control of the whole Formula One thing. They're going to be the ones who decide, really. They should be the ones who decide. It shouldn't have to come down to votes. It should have to come down to the FIA. If the FIA makes the decision saying that Mercedes can get the engine, then that's on them. Because they're the ones who make the decision on whether the track is clear or not, right? They're the ones who they're the referee of the F1 basically. Yes. They're the referee of the F1. They're the judges of the F1, umpires. You can basically say whatever you want, right? However, they have made some controversial decisions in the past. Whether we agree with it or not, it's still on the FIA to make the decision. They're the ones who say, all right, safety car employed, safety race, race suspended, or race, they're the ones who make the decision on the race. They should be the ones who decide if they allow the engine or not. The Premier League are the ones who decide whether this team or that team can be approved of such ownership, or whether they're approved of that financial spending spree. They make the rules. They make this PSR rule. The FIA should be the ones who they're the ones who make the cost capping. They're the ones who gave Red Bull the leeway after the cost capping breach. So at the end of the day, it should be on the FIA. They should make that decision. But I also agree with you. I think the votes could be important. You're right. The only way is if Williams and Aston Martin decide to boycott Mercedes. That's the only way we'll find out whether Mercedes are gonna get that or not. They should have people who boycott. Some breaking news.
No, I don't want to interrupt you. I heard everything you said about boycotting PSR. I just read Tifosi's comment, by the way, his latest comment, and I did the research on it. It's just what I found out is a bit nuts.
Go on.
Reportedly, Tifosi, I thought it was they would benefit a bit, but it would be for political reasons. Actually, McLaren will also benefit from this Mercedes loophole, and Williams will also benefit, Ekevin.
Because they're part of Mercedes.
So
this is why boycotting is important. They need to boycott the Mercedes, because what upgrades will they get? They're not going to benefit from it. It's only Mercedes that can benefit from it. They just have a Mercedes engine.
No.
Not upgrade McLaren and Williams.
Ekevin, because this is the power unit, they will reap the rewards of this specific compression change as well. Ekevin, they will get the same up to 0.3 lap benefit as well.
But what about the rest of the league? Or what about the rest of the grid?
They didn't.
They're not going to get anything.
They didn't do it, but I think I want to add something. If you may ask me, even if McLaren and Williams get the benefit, why aren't they also favorites to win the championship? Someone might ask, right? So we're saying that McLaren and Williams will also have some benefit, right? Ekevin, if they benefit from this loophole, wouldn't we also say they're favorites to win the championship too?
McLaren
and Williams, because they both will benefit from it. No, but I'll say the reason they won't is because Mercedes' overall car.
It's the overall car.
They're obviously going to have the best engine. They're going to have the best engine set, the most optimal materials and ingredients for themselves, but also in terms of reliability, in terms of mileage, in terms of the least problems, Mercedes seem bulletproof, and Williams didn't even bring their car out, Ekevin. They are way behind schedule. McLaren are also tweaking up a different chassis setup. So at the moment, even though McLaren and Williams are aided by Mercedes engine, they're not favorites. They'll be in the same boat at best with Ferrari, I think.
But this is what I'm saying. Like, yeah, it's unfair to those who want to compete as well. Like Ferrari want to try and compete. Aston Martin want to compete. Red Bull want to compete. It's not going to benefit these cars. It's going to benefit Mercedes and their engine suppliers. Whose engine that they're supplying? It's only going to benefit these guys. And it's
Yeah, but
not right.
I don't want to interrupt, but Ekevin, you say it's not right, and I agree it's not right for us fans who want proper action here. But what I have to say the same thing. With City, you can say what law they broke. With Yannick Sinner, you can say what law he broke. Whether it impacted performance or not is irrelevant. They broke laws. With Mercedes, can someone tell me what law they broke? Because to my understanding, they didn't break a single law. And it's 1 month. And I think the article is more damning. What was the reason Red Bull went to snitch for Mercedes? They snitched to the FIA, not because they believe Mercedes did something wrong, Ekvin. Red Bull snitched because they couldn't copy what Mercedes did. That is the reason. To me, I have to be honest here. We talk about winning mentality. That to me sounds very sore, very defeatist. You're complaining because you couldn't copy them. That's why they're complaining. And I think this new Red Bull dynamic is beautiful.
That's why they weren't allowed to copy. They weren't allowed to make those upgrades compared to Mercedes. They're the ones.
Were they not allowed, or did they just not think of it?
Mercedes were promised to make that upgrade. They were promised the upgrade.
No. Ekevin, they weren't promised. Everyone had the exact same blueprint. They could build the exact same blueprint. Mercedes just bypassed the rule differently. They didn't get an upgrade that everyone else didn't get. They all had the same tools when they made their cars. They didn't. Mercedes.
But as a Ferrari fan myself, watching this unfold, it's like, where's the upgrades to my team? You know, they can't make these upgrades. Only the Mercedes cars, or the Mercedes engine cars, can make those upgrades. You know, the power unit will increase. You know what I'm trying to say? I just disagree with it all, man. I'm sorry. It should be even with everyone. It should be even. Every car engine should be even. I want to see a competitive race. As a Ferrari fan, I want to see Ferrari dominate. Mercedes fans want to see Mercedes dominate. Red Bull fans want to see Red Bull dominate. We can't always get what we want, but at the end of the day, like, I just feel like it's not right. It should be competitive on all fronts. It should be competitive on the grid. Everyone should be competitive. Everyone should be around the same level of each other. You might have the better driver here or there, but Max Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton. You might have these two of the better drivers. You might have two of the best drivers of the grid. Two of the best drivers on the grid. Sure, you can have that. No problem. At the end of the day, Auguste, for me, I just don't find it. I just don't find it, like, you know, right.
Mm-hmm.
If this is a power unit that's going to help Mercedes, you mentioned about 0.3 of a second. They get to gain 0.3 of a second on everyone else. Do you think that's fun to watch? Do you think that's fun to watch as a neutral? Because I don't think so. I personally, when I'm watching Formula One, I want to see competitiveness. I want to see fairness. I want to see everyone battle it out. I might be going to my first F1 race this year, by the way. So I want to see. I want to see competitive. I want to see competitive racing. I don't want to see one car benefit from a rule where the other car does not. I want to see every car benefit. I want to see every car improve. Not every car improve, but at least most cars on the grid. You know what I mean? You're not going to get much from the Audi or the Cadillacs this year. You're not going to get much from these cars. You're not going to get much from these cars. You're going to get more from a Mercedes or probably an Aston Martin. Because, like you mentioned, Mercedes are their engine supplies. McLaren. I don't find it fair. Sorry, I just don't. And I'll say the same thing over and over again. I just don't find it fair. I just don't want to. I don't want to see one car dominate and take control of the whole grid and the whole race. It's not fun to watch. I watched it with McLaren for 2 years straight. I didn't enjoy that.
If it wasn't for Max, it would have been a nightmare.
Yeah, exactly. If I watched Red Bull dominate, I didn't enjoy that. I want it to be spread out, competitive. Results spread out. You know what I mean?
Okay, so and onto what you're saying. Yeah, this is a great question. These rules last year, the ratio was 18-1. This year it became lower, 16-1, to make the racing more fair. Wow. So Mercedes kept it as 18-1, or they found a way to still keep it as 18-1, while still succeeding under these regulations. And real quick, I'm just checking. if anything is to happen, at the earliest, it would happen in Melbourne. They would have a rule change, and then they would also factor in um, the ratio during the race. So then they would do checks in Melbourne, they would do checks in mid-season, and likely it seems like any impact would be hit either mid-season or at the start of next season. So, Ekevin, for Melbourne, it seems like Mercedes are fine. Heading into Melbourne, it seems like they are heavy favorites. And my pick to win the championship last year before all of this happened was George Russell, and I'm very confident with that. Yeah, and Tifosi, you hit the nail on the head. I just look, unlike all the other illegalities we've been talking about, I will keep posing the question: what rule did Mercedes break? They exploited the same rules. Ekevin, everyone had the same tools. Everyone had the same rules. I may not be a Mercedes supporter. You may not be a Mercedes supporter. But I want to ask you, what rule did Mercedes break? What did they break? Because the rule was 16-1 when you're static. It is 16-1 when you're static. But when they get out on the track, it's 18-1.
It should be. It should remain 16-1. It shouldn't go to 18-1. It should remain 16.
So then I agree with you. So then the problem is not Mercedes because they didn't breach a rule. They bypassed the rule. The problem is the FIA, and the problem the FIA has always had. Their problem is their rules are too ambiguous. It's not about, oh, is this incident warranting a yellow flag? We'll have a debate about it for 2 weeks. And then we'll repeat.
They have a certain. They tend to have biases towards cars that are mostly competing for championships. We've seen it in the past.
Of course, that's
politics. We saw plenty of times teams get away with FIA decisions, and this is what I mean. Like, there's a reason why they sacked the FIA last year. It's because of so many terrible decisions that guys made. They've made some really terrible decisions, bro. The FIA over the years, and
yeah.
When you look at it from this point, do I think it should remain at 16-1? Yeah, I said that already. But in terms of, like making decisions, cool. It's on the FIA. They're the ones who will make the decision, whether you and I agree with it or not. They should be the ones to decide, right? They've decided they decided not to penalize Red Bull for their cost cap breach. They've decided to not penalize, others for getting away with cheating on the track. When I say cheating on the track, I mean there's certain rules that they broke, but they got away with it. We saw McLaren get away with something last year.
Yeah.
But this is what I mean. Like, they've made some really unfair decisions over the years. I don't think right.
Ekevin, dude, I just my problem is if you go to court and your case is against Mercedes, your case is basically you can't beat them. That's why they should have to reduce their engine. That's the case that Red Bull are making. Like that, Ekevin, the case against Mercedes is you can't beat them, so you want them to come back to your level. It's like it's like the Celtics versus the Sixers. You're getting our ass whooped so much every time the Celtics play the Sixers. Even though they built a team that was far better than yours, look, they may have exploited the rules or whatever, especially with the Nets trade, but that was not their fault. They maximized whatever they had to do, right? Remember the Nets, the Paul Pierce trade that got you the picks and the players? You know what I'm talking about?
That's the Celtics.
Yeah. I'm saying you did nothing wrong there, but people complain, not from a rule standpoint. Well, how could the Nets give up that much? It's like the Sixers saying, see, they gave up so much. So when the Celtics face the Sixers, Tatum and Brown shouldn't play. That's what I'm hearing. It's like there's no reason for that. You didn't break a rule. Mercedes didn't break a rule. Why should they have to pay the price? Now, if
unit goes 18-1 whilst being on the track, and that's why I find unfair. Everyone should be at 16-1, not more.
But I agree with you, Ekevin. But the problem is, then the FIA needed to do a better job saying it, because it's like if a teacher says on an exam, that. Hey, you can bring whatever you want. You just can't bring a calculator. Okay? But then a student brings ChatGPT in the room. Can you blame the student? Because in the letter of the law, it just said the only thing banned was a calculator, not a mobile phone. And that's what Mercedes did, right? Having anything beyond 16 to...
But it's common knowledge. it should be common knowledge to know that, because it might not be a FIA rule. It might be like a wider rule.
Maybe, but that's why schools have to specify instead of saying a calculator is banned, any application with a calculator, any technology device that helps you, that is banned. Then wouldn't be a problem. I think the FIA just had to be unambiguous, but they weren't. And Mercedes, ingenious, so shrewd. Jordan Belfort, Wolf of Wall Street, so shrewd. Except he did scam people. Mercedes didn't. So, look, I just hate to be that guy. And Tifosi's next comment is reasonable. Are we prioritizing entertainment or are we prioritizing excellence? That's it. What do you want?
We should prioritize entertainment. We should
then
overturn it.
What
do the fans pay to watch?
Then overturn it.
What do the fans pay to watch? They pay to watch a good race. They don't pay to watch one team dominate for the whole year. They don't want to pay to watch. And that's what we've seen over the years. We've seen one team dominate pretty much every single season, but different teams. I want to see it broaden. I want to see it spread out. You know what I mean? Results wise. I always mention Augustia. Do you want to see Man City dominate the Premier League every single season?
No.
The Premier League created this PSR thing for people to stop spending money. Not to stop spending money, but to be careful with their finances. There should be a limit. In the NBA, you have a cap. You have a salary cap. Every team has the same salary cap. Whether you have that cap is a different conversation. But every team in the NBA has a salary cap. That's the same salary cap. No team has more or less. Every team has a certain salary cap. If you go over a certain luxury tax, you'll have to pay a penalty of $500 million. And that's the second apron rule. That's the first and second apron rule that just came out recently. Cool. I don't agree with trying to penalize others for the sake of success, because I'm on the receiving end of that. I'm a Celtics fan. I saw a few of my best players get taken away because of a rule. I don't agree with that. However, there should be a cap of how much you are able to spend and how much you're able to give. If Mercedes are going to spend on engine upgrade or a power unit upgrade, there has to be a maximum on how much you can upgrade that power unit.
But
every other car has the same amount of up.
But that's the problem, Ekevin.
The same limit.
Ekevin, they didn't breach their spending. They didn't breach their upgrades. They didn't do any of that. That's the thing.
The upgrade is too overpowered, and that's not fair.
But okay, so see, yeah. Now the upgrade is too overpowered. It's fair, man. I don't think the problem is not fair. It's just whether it's right for the sport. I think that's the bigger question. The point you're making, because it's. I mean, the FIA themselves were in the room when Mercedes were making this, Ekevin. They were in the room. So if they had no problem with it now, and they're going to change because Ferrari and Red Bull are going to use their politics to do it, then something is a bit fucked up. Then if anything, I will say that Mercedes are being screwed by Ferrari, by Red Bull, because they are being sore losers, to put it bluntly. That is what's happening. But the FIA need to prioritize. I think Tifosi's right. But then again, Ekevin's point stands. I hear Ekevin's point here. You're going to have a season that's wasted. A season that's supposed to be so excited, wasted, down the drain.
But I also ask a question. Have other teams been on the receiving end of this before? Have Ferrari been on the receiving end of this before? Because why not? Because, think about it. Yeah. If Ferrari wants to make an engine upgrade, and they want to do the exact same thing Mercedes did, but they got rejected, but Mercedes got approved, then there's a difference.
Okay.
If you've been rejected of it, and another team gets approved of it, then there's bias. Then there's favoritism. That's why Ferrari may be feeling that, oh, all right, we got rejected, but they didn't. So how is this fair? Maybe that's what Ferrari are trying to do. They're trying to appeal for their own sake. Maybe somebody in that Ferrari decided, all right, we're going to make this upgrade, but we're going to do it behind the scenes. We're not going to tell anyone about it. It's a secret behind the scenes upgrade that nobody knew about, but they got rejected of it. It wasn't reported.
Yeah.
Who knows? This is
just exactly
a rumor.
We have the answers to all the questions you just said. The truth is, Red Bull tried to replicate this. Ferrari tried to replicate this. But in the report, neither team could copy it. They didn't have the manpower or the mind to copy it. Not because they didn't have the money, not because they didn't have the materials. They just couldn't replicate it. So they tried. But the moment they couldn't replicate something the FIA had worked hand in hand with Mercedes to approve throughout the process, 1 month before the season, after these tests in Barcelona a few days ago, all the engine manufacturers outside of the Mercedes teams have come and formed an agreement saying we need to lodge a protest. And the reason the FIA is caving against their own word, against their own approval, against their letter of the law, is because they want to avoid complete carnage when it comes to reputation. And also they want to cooperate instead of avoid any backlash before the season. So put it bluntly, while I agree with all of you, and this is a good claim, I agree with all of you guys. This destroys the whole purpose of the new regulations. The whole purpose was make the car smaller, a manual overtake button rather than DRS, 50-50 electrical, but also natural, to make competition, make wheel-to-wheel racing sustainable across the grid. Mercedes have destroyed that, not out of illegality, because they didn't breach a rule, they bypassed it. And the other teams, the reason they are complaining, not because they want fairness, but because they want parity. Because they're getting their ass whooped so hard, they didn't think about this outside of the box solution. They're going to the daddy FIA trying to get it overruled. Is it fair for entertainment? Yes. But is it fair for excellence, for equality, for meritocracy? Hell no. Mercedes are being shafted. And I got to be honest, whichever team that wins this season, Ekavin, if you get this rule change, there will be an asterisk on your season, perhaps even bigger than Max Verstappen's asterisk when he won the championship. Because Mercedes, they built the car. They built the Ken Miles utopian car. You didn't. And because you didn't, like the calculator analogy, if before an exam, the school says, you can bring everything else but a calculator. That's it. The school said you can bring an iPad. You bring an iPad. You didn't break the letter of the law. Not the other fault the kids didn't think of it. That's why schools say you can't bring a calculator in any device that has technology related to math. So, look, I just think Mercedes, you out-gamified. You out-gamified this. And all the other teams, you're right to complain about parity, but you're wrong with your means of getting it because you come across sour rather than the saviors of society.
The solution should be the FIA should also approve those who request for it now. If Mercedes were working behind the scenes to get that engine, why can't Ferrari get approved of it now? Why can't a Red Bull get approved of it now?
Because the car's already built and they don't know how to do it.
But then why is it being disapproved while the car's already built?
Exactly. So that's my problem, Ekavin. It shouldn't be because
But I also asked the same question: have Ferrari been shafted like this in the past, and then they feel rejected by the FIA? By doing this, that they've approved of it prior to the season, prior to the cars being made, they probably felt disapproved of it, so they're going against the cars that have got approved of it. They should be, because I'll tell you why. If somebody wants to build, let's say, okay, I'll give you an example. Big up King, big up to you, bro.
Oh, I was just gonna text you, King. I was like, hop on the stream.
I'm gonna ask you an example, Augusta. All right,
go on.
You have all that space. You have all that space. You have all that land. All that land in the world.
Amazing.
Somebody wants to build a house on that land. The government gets approved. The government approves of it.
Okay.
Somebody wants to build that exact same house on another space, on the exact same space of land, but it gets disapproved by the landlord or by someone that owns that particular part of land, right? How would then that person feel? They've got the finances to do the exact same thing Mercedes did. You know what I mean? They have the finances to build a power.
I don't want to interrupt you.
They got disapproved of it in the past. But
I don't want to. Yeah.
Why is the favorite over to Mercedes now? Because I feel it this way. I feel like Mercedes have been given this favoritism. You know, I feel like because Why? How could they be approved of it now, but other cars in the past haven't been approved of this power unit? I don't care about no regulations.
Because it's never this. These are new regulations. Okay, wait. Can I jump in real quick? Yeah. Hold up, King. Have you been fed up with the scoop on the Mercedes engine issue?
Yeah.
How the 16-1, 18-1 difference.
Yeah.
Can I want me to give my view real quick? I think you can guess what Ekevin's view is. But based on what he just said, should I give you my view? Just 30 seconds, then you can jump in.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay, basically, we've been going on this, looking at the letter of the law, looking at the rules, discussing it from a parity standpoint. Look, from an entertainment perspective, from a parity point, Mercedes' engine loophole, right? When the car is supposed to be static, the compression ratio is supposed to be 16-1. Mercedes have achieved that. When they go out on track, there is no mention of that in the letter of the law. It goes back to 18-1, which means they get 15 to 20 more horsepower, and they can gain up to 0.3 a lap. Them and also all the other teams that have the Mercedes engine manufacturer. And of course, the whole purpose of the new regulations was we're going to shrink the cars, make them smaller. Also, this manual overtake button, remove DRS, 50-50 electrical and technical. So basically, wheel-to-wheel racing exists again and becomes competitive. For that perspective, it destroys it because Mercedes have found a loophole that will basically dominate and destroy the entire season on top of a car that has already been close to perfect. But, like I say, if you go in a courtroom and you talk about the letter of the law, what rule did Mercedes break? They didn't breach a law. They bypassed the loophole. And the truth is, the fault isn't Mercedes. The fault is the FIA. They should have made their rules less ambiguous. They should have made it more unambiguous. And the truth is, this whole time, while Mercedes were building this car, building this engine, the FIA had approved every single step of the way. The only time, according to the reports, that the FIA are stepping in is because all the other engine manufacturers are complaining, saying, we couldn't replicate this bar for bar. This is what the report says. They couldn't replicate this. They tried, but they failed. That's why Mercedes shouldn't be able to do this. And look, I'm not rooting for Mercedes to win the championship. I want Lewis Hamilton to win his 8th official championship. I want Max to get his 5th championship. And I want a fun and fair season. But the truth is, if Mercedes get this vetoed, there will be an asterisk on whoever wins. Because they did what Ken Miles aspired to do, build the perfect car. That's what they did. But that's my take. My take is, look, it's harsh, but they didn't break a law. They had a loophole. And I don't know why we should be punishing them this season, like Tifosi says. Maybe next season you can change it and make it more straightforward.
Because if other teams want to make the same upgrades and they got disapproved of it.
They could have, but they couldn't do it. So I don't know why we're rewarding sore losers here. Sorry. Sorry, Red Bull.
But my only thing is, what if Ferrari and stuff wanted to make the same upgrades, but then they got disapproved of it at the same time that Mercedes got approved of it? My only question is,
but they didn't use that reason.
But anyways, I want to know what King's thoughts are on this. Anyways, guys, subscribe to King's channel as well, people. The link will be in the description. Both of it. And he'll be on the page. Way up to you, King. Continue, bro.
There you go. In terms of Mercedes, they've done this before with the DAS system, and then it got removed. But I think it should be removed. I think there should not be an advantage like that from a team's standpoint, because this is meant to be for. They put in these new regulations to make teams more closer to each other. The objective of the FIA is to make the racing more competitive. So if there's a team that has a loophole that makes them quicker than the rest of that means every Mercedes team. That's not just Mercedes. That's Mercedes. That's McLaren. That's Williams. That's all Mercedes teams. Meaning in every level, in the title fight, the mid race fight, even the dog fight at the end, all Mercedes cars are going to have an advantage, regardless of what their chassis is. So even if they're fighting for third, fourth, fifth, sixth, or sixth, seven, they'll have advantage on every other engine manufacturer, which I don't think is. And in the past, teams have been caught doing different things to get an advantage. Ferrari, for example, with their engines, they've done that in the past with the Seb Vettel years. So for me, I agree with Gustia. I agree with Gustia that it is the FIA's issue, because you need to make the rule set actual, clear, and concise, and actually it has to state that it has to be 16-1 all all across the track, not just when it's stationary, because then they're not allowed to use that loophole. So they need to change their rulings, and then they need to tell Mercedes to modify their engine to suit the new rulings. So it's a mixture of both. It's a mixture of FIA messing up, and it's a mixture of Mercedes as well. But for me, big up to Fosi. But for me, I think also the reason why the other teams are complaining is what Formula One is all about. It's the dark arts. It's the teams looking at trying to weaken Mercedes. So they may have things that the Mercedes don't have that makes them faster. For example, aerodynamics. They may be quicker in corners, etc., etc. And they may be able to find ways to kind of cope with that extra horsepower, because not every track is a speed track. A lot of tracks are small, slow corners, or for example, like in Monaco's, the speed advantage is not gonna make a difference. It's gonna be about how quick can your car go into corners and etc. etc. So not every track will the Mercedes be suited for in terms of the engine. But so for me, I think like it's just the other teams finding ways to weaken the Mercedes engine and Mercedes based cars. So I agree with all points. I just think overall, I think the FIA are gonna eventually have to cap that. Because if it's not, because put it this way, if it was just Ferrari complaining, then I don't think the FIA would do anything. But because it's every other engine manufacturer, it makes it a much bigger deal. So I think the pressure they're gonna put on, and also they can, because Mercedes is only like less than half the grid. The rest, that's more than half the grid that are complaining. It's going to put pressure on FIA because teams might just decide not to play, not to join the sport. Teams have in the past have said that they will pull out of Formula One if these things aren't changed as well. So they can threaten that as well. Also, Mercedes itself, the teams that Mercedes have, they're not the biggest teams out there. Obviously, McLaren is big. Mercedes is not really an F1. It's only a recent F1 staple. So if you look at the likes of the other teams that have a big say, I think it kind of clouds it. But the problem about F1 being all about making innovations is the biggest issue is that they when they introduced the salary cap, when they introduced a salary cap on teams and said you have a spend cap, and innovation isn't the thing anymore. Because if teams had unlimited budgets, do you think there would be any parity? Do you think imagine the amount of money that Ferrari or Red Bull or Mercedes could put into this? It wouldn't be close. You wouldn't have a race where there's seconds or less than seconds between 1 and 20 when it comes to Q1. There would be no. It would be like the past where the 4 or 5 teams that are going to make it to Q3. At least last season, especially, there was a bit. Sometimes a Red Bull didn't make it. Sometimes a Ferrari didn't make it. Sometimes a Mercedes didn't make it. Sometimes a McLaren didn't make it or had some struggles in certain races as well. So I feel like FIA needs to strive to have parity between the bottom team and the top team, and I think that engine issue is gonna stop the parity that they're trying to produce. And in all we want to see is good racing, and I don't think if a car has overspeed, that's gonna pretty much reduce the amount of good racing you're gonna have in the faster tracks. So for example, your Italian GP Monza, Mercedes are just going to go away. They're not going to be able to. There's not going to be overtaking because they're just going to be able to overspeed it, even if press the buttons and stuff like that. So I feel like in that essence, it's less about the drive. It's less about the drivers and more about the car, which I don't think Formula One should be. Formula One should be about the drivers, and I think you should at least try and get it as close as possible to an F2 style. Everyone has in similar cars, and it being about the drivers, not about the engine or the car itself, because I think it taints the sport. I think last season was tainted because I don't think the best driver won the Formula One championship, and if this season the same thing happens where Mercedes engines get an advantage and an undeserving man is a champion again, it just ruins the credibility of the sport, and people will just move on to other other forms of racing driving. You can go to G3, you can watch F2, you can go to NASCAR. There's other forms of racing that people can go to and will move on to if they believe that the sport is getting worse and worse, which I think in terms of in the top level last season, it was one of the worst seasons in the top level in terms of for me as a viewer. Like mid table to lower was fun, but top level was not interesting at all.
Fair points. I'm not gonna disagree. I'm gonna agree. I'm in the middle, like I said. But still, I would rather have a competitive I would rather have a competitive circuit. If anything, I want it to be competitive. I want everyone to be near. Like I mentioned many times on the show, I want the results to be spread out. I want 1 week, for example. Oh, 1 week we have like a surprise. 1 week we have like for example, a Mercedes win, like a Ferrari win next week, and then like a McLaren win, like a Red Bull win. I want it to be spaced out. That's what the competitiveness I want. I want surprises. I want unexpected packages from this F1 season. I don't want one team to dominate the whole season. I don't want one team to go out there and be like, oh, we're faster than you, it's GG's, it's over. We knew McLaren was going to win all of that last season because McLaren had the fastest car. We knew Red Bull were going to win during their period. Why? It's because they had the fastest car. Max Verstappen and Checo Perez, dominated the whole season. There was only 1 weekend where they didn't even win, when that was Singapore. And Ferrari won that one. It just tells you how far if you wanna change the regulations and improve for the better, then don't approve stuff like Mercedes then. Because you're gonna allow them to dominate. You're gonna allow them to take over the whole circuit. It's not right. It's not fair. So like I said, I want it to be competitive, spaced out. I want it to be different.
That's a very good point. Ekman, that's a very good point, what you just said. I don't want to interrupt, but the point you said is don't approve it. Yes, the FIA worked with every single team to make sure throughout each phase of development, they are staying legal. They are adhering to the guidelines. Throughout every phase of development, when Mercedes were developing and building this Frankenstein of an engine, the FIA approved it throughout. So what the FIA should have done, Ekman and King, I think we're all in agreement with this, is from the beginning, when Mercedes suggested and proposed this idea, they should have just said no. They should have denied the concept rather than wait till the concept was created and be like, okay, you know what? They didn't actually, like Tifosi and I are saying, they didn't break a single law. They just exploited a loophole. And I don't know why we're penalizing them. I can hear feedback, by the way.
Oh no, I'm just changing the times for the.
All good, no problem. No, I just want to say I can hear myself back.
I was just changing the times for the Premier League show. My bad.
No, all good, absolutely. I agree with you. I think you guys hit the nail on the head. What the FIA should have done is, because they are working with every single team throughout every phase of development, from the beginning, when this was a concept, because they'd known about it, we knew the FIA knew about this for months. This is not just come out of the blue when the teams lodged this protest. They should have said no when it was a concept, not wait till Frankenstein was created. And now you've made Frankenstein. And the truth is, I agree with you guys. The whole purpose of this regulations, the whole point of the sport is for competition, is to produce the winningest, but also do it in a way where it's not about full liberty. It's not about full innovation. It's equality of opportunity, where every team works under the same guidelines. But unfortunately, now, if the problem is, whatever the FIA rule, already the new regulations have been tainted. It has already been tainted because if they rule for it, if they rule to keep for the engine, the whole purpose of competition destroyed, the credibility destroyed, commercially destroyed. As King said, people will flock to other motorsports, will flock to other sports. What's the point of watching a film when the outcome is a foregone conclusion and there is no entertainment in the middle? There is no unpredictability. But if they rule against it in favor of commercial priority than competitiveness, then we're not trying to build the best teams. We're not trying to build the best drivers. The whole point of Formula One is to build the best combination, right? It's not about who's the best driver. Otherwise, go to NASCAR. Go to something when it's about pure ability. It isn't. It's about the total team effort. So, yeah, Exactly. I agree with you, Tifosi. I guess what they have to do is maybe mid-season change the rules for mid-season or next season. For Australia, I have to make it clear. But for Australia, I have to be honest, it would be an abomination. It would destroy all the meritocracy and creativity of the sport. And whoever wins King, I'm sorry, I think it would be bigger asterisks to them if it's not a Mercedes driver than it was to Max Verstappen in 2021. Because while Max Verstappen was a race and he should not have won the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, that was absolutely and utterly either incompetent or corrupt, whatever it was. This one, you have just single-handedly caved. Look at the reasoning. The reasoning is because they whooped our ass so much. We tried to replicate their engine loophole. We couldn't. So we're going to go to court. And the FIA's reasoning of overturning it is not because they broke the law. The whole point of a court is to adjourn based on laws and ethics and morals. But what the FIA are doing is, because politics, right? As King said, we're going to cave to the other teams because they're bitching around, they're moaning around. They weren't good enough. They didn't have the mind or the manpower to do it. They had all the same tools. So we're going to have to overturn this.
I asked the same question. Why are you changing the regulations to make it closer if you're going to approve a car that's much faster? If you're going to approve a much faster power unit compared to most? If you change the regulations to make it closer to make it more competitive, why are you approving of that massive power unit up?
Yeah,
doesn't make sense.
They should have stopped it when it was a concept. But I guess if I'm playing devil's advocate, the reason they couldn't stop it is, as King said, when it was stationary, it met the requirements. They didn't break any requirement.
No, but still,
But they should have when it was a concept. I'm with you. When it was a concept, they should have stopped it. But now it's already made. And now if you disrupt and destroy Mercedes' progress, Total Wolf is absolutely right. You guys are just, not you guys, I mean the reasoning is very loser-esque. It is very defeatist here. And the reason Red Bull were also hesitating was because they benefited from the loophole a bit as well. So shouldn't Red Bull also have to change it then? So I'm just saying something's
have to benefit from a rule more than the other. That's all I'm going to say. No other car should have to benefit by a rule from the FIA, from the neutrals to the others. It should be even. It should be competitive. Every car should have its own, quality. If Ferrari make an upgrade, Ferrari makes an upgrade. If Mercedes makes an upgrade, Mercedes makes an upgrade. Red Bull makes an upgrade, Red Bull makes an upgrade. But there should be a limit. The problem is there's no limits. There's never been a limit. People have gotten away with breaching cost caps. People have gotten away with breaching certain rules. I think Tifosi brought this comment about Ferrari in
them cheaters over there.
In 2019.
But just 30 seconds. But Ekevin and King, the examples we just gave about Red Bull did break, but Red Bull broke the law.
Yeah, but even with the dam system that Mercedes made, they didn't break a law, but they had to remove it eventually because it was an unfair advantage comparatively, and other teams complained. This is the Formula One isn't about making the best car. That's the lie they tell you. It's about
absolutely, yeah.
It's a mixture of both, but also at the same time, it's about politicking, and the politicking of, especially with a team like Ferrari that is synonymous with Formula One. If they're not able to do something and other teams are, damn right they're going to complain, and they have more power. They yield more power than Mercedes and Red Bull, because Red Bull is just a drinks company, and Mercedes is just a luxury car. Ferrari is Formula One. So when you have a team like Ferrari that are going to complain about it, they're going to have to change those rules. Because if Ferrari leaves the sport, there is no sport. There is no Formula One without Ferrari. There can be a Formula One without Mercedes or Red Bull. You can replace those. They're replaceable. Ferrari isn't.
Facts.
So, that's another reason you have to think about. But yeah, is it fair? No. Is it as bad as is there going to be an asterisk on it? No, because there was no asterisk after the dam system got removed. The only asterisk is if the FIA themselves were cheating, and that's what happened with the Verstappen one. Is that the FIA the director of it of the rules actually bended the rules for Verstappen to win when it came to the safety car rules. That's why there's an asterisk on that one. But in terms of the cars itself, FIA have done this before. They've as I said, Sebastian Vettel's Ferrari, certain with the engine wasn't allowed. They told them to change the engine, and the Ferraris were much slower after that. Stopped Sebastian being able to compete. The damn system that Mercedes gave them an advantage because it allowed them to change the brake bias with the wheel, etc., during a race. It was an innovative system. They stopped that. This is another innovative system. FIA's prerogative is going to be to stop it, because in the end of the day, every regulation they've put in so far is to make closer racing, is to put the teams closer together to make the sport more entertaining. So any team that does have a distinct advantage with the regulations, they will crack down on it, regardless if it breaks the rules or not, because Formula One isn't about the best car. Because if it was about the best car, there would be no spend cap, there would be no there wouldn't be no car regulations. They would just tell the team, build the best car possible using whatever suspension, whatever engine, whatever everything, and go crazy. And all you would see is Ferrari, Mercedes, Red Bull dominate, because they would spend stupid amounts of money that other teams can't even afford to spend.
This is why I make the point. There's no limit. There's never been. Teams have gotten away with spending over the limit.
No. I'm not talking about that. That's not what I'm talking about. That is a whole nother thing. What I'm saying is that by adding a spending limit, you stop teams from being innovative. There's only been slightly limit pushes from Red Bull and Aston Martin, but because you've added the spend limit, the big teams can't do as much as they used to be able to do, especially with aerodynamics, etc. They're not as allowed to do as much as they were in the past. In the past, there was a big gap between the big teams and the small teams. There was no competition. You wouldn't see a medium team get a podium on a regular basis. You wouldn't see a medium team win a race. You wouldn't see a medium team have a chance. It would be Schumacher dominant. It would be Fernando Alonso dominant. It would be Sebastian Vettel dominant. It would be similar to what Verstappen did, dominant, because their car would be so much superior because the amount of money they were able to spend. But they added a spend cap. They added extra things. They've added all these new regulations. Why? Because they want the cars to be closer and closer together. So anything that breaches that, which is this engine loophole, they're going to remove it. Not because they're for Ferrari or against Mercedes. It's because they want their sport to be entertaining. Because in the end of the day, ever since Liberty Media bought Formula One from Eccleston, it's not been about innovation. It's about entertainment. That's why they have the Netflix show. That's why they've made things the way they are, because they want entertainment. They want to be able to produce new seasons of Drive to Survive. And in order for that to happen, there needs to be entertainment. There needs to be cars close to each other. There needs to be battles, inter-team battles, etc. Formula One has, for a long time, is not about innovation. It's lost that. The moment they added that spend cap, it's not about innovation. It's just about entertainment. It's an entertainment sport. If you want innovation, go elsewhere, because Formula One isn't doing it. If Formula One was allowed to innovate, the cars would be much quicker. There'd be different styles. You'd be able to do so much more. But because the regulations are so strict that it only allows you to do as much as you can.
But this is why I say, King, like, I'm tired of seeing teams dominate every single year. I'm tired of watching Red Bull, like McLaren, take control of a full season, win majority of the races. I don't enjoy all that. But I mentioned this many times on the show.
On the top level, they still, put it this way, on the top level, they still need to improve it. But if you look at anything below, from second place below, everything outside of McLaren last season was competitive. But what for the FIA are trying to do is make everything competitive, even the top step, even to get they want to have a season again where each race are different drivers with number one kind of thing. They don't want the domination kind of periods. They want it to be competitive on that level. But so,
okay, can I jump in real quick?
Yeah.
I hear everything you said about the cost cap, about how it's more about obviously competitiveness than pure innovation and competition. Because if it was like that, then you would have credible inequality between the top teams and the bottom teams. Foregone conclusion. I hear all the points you're making. King, you mentioned the DAS system, right? The dual axis steering loophole that Mercedes had for 2020 and was ruled out in 2021. There is a massive difference between that and what Mercedes. Let's not forget Red Bull have also exploited this as well. Much lesser extent, but they also exploited this rule. There is a massive difference, and it's not even close. DAS was basically to help with steering, but also decrease tire temperatures. It was a gadget added onto the car. This is the engine itself. So when it came to DAS, the FIA could write it out of existence for 2021. They could remove it. Very easy to remove. Also, they caught it very early on in testing. With this one, again, they'd approved it the whole time. The only time they found it a problem was when all the team lodged the protest. And also with this one, engines have a multi-year contract, basically have multi-year lead times. So if the FIA have to overrule this, Red Bull and Mercedes will have to completely scrap all their engine plans. It would hinder them completely. This isn't DAS. This is completely destructive. And also, if you try to make amendments to the engine and play with certain parts, it would also make it unsafe as well. So I think the problem is, yes, I agree with you. This whole system is unfair in the sense of parity. It destroys parity. It destroys competition. But again, the points that we keep making is, if you do this, how are you going to remove this and when? Can you remove this?
They would have to do it straight away. But let's be honest.
King, they physically can't do it straight away. They physically can't. Like, there's no way they can do it straight away.
Then they got to hold that one because they tried to cheat. That's pretty much what they did. They tried to cheat the system, cheat the rules.
But I don't agree with they tried to cheat.
It's rules. Mercedes and Red Bull, man. Them both are cheaters. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, no. But there are multiple different things. Yes, they have absolutely breached the rules before. I totally agree with you. Red Bull absolutely has. But this
and they have with this one as well. So,
but King, I'm gonna ask you straight. If we're saying they breached the rules, tell me what law they broke. What law did they break?
It's meant to be 16.1. And they made it so that it's 18.1. So they've pretty much added extra time to their thing, which shouldn't be there.
But the law is the letter of law. To breach something, you cannot breach it by interpretation. To breach something is not about interpretation. It's about objective in these instances. So yes, they should correct.
Put it this way.
Of course, law is subjective, but this is not.
Yeah, it's subjective, and in the end of the day, if the FIA say you can't do this, then they're not going to be able to do it. So,
King,
they will have to just hold that one.
But King, that's the problem. The FIA had approved this every phase of development. The only time they're stopping this is because the other.
You're acting as the FIA is a competent.
Oh no! Exactly.
They're the most incompetent.
No. Guys, I'm with you, but my point is, unfortunately, every step of the way, they didn't breach a single law until the reason that they're going to. I'm saying we have to look at the reasons. The reason.
The reason's not valid. It's not a valid reason, but it's going to happen because in the end of the day, there's enough teams complaining, and one of the biggest teams in the sports complaining, the Ferrari. So they're going to have to change that. And if it hinders their engines for Mercedes teams, you know what? As a Ferrari fan, I don't care. As a Formula One,
Ferrari will dominate. It will be like Mercedes domination, except Ferrari, and not because they built the best car, because they were too much of a bitch to face a team that actually beat them.
No, because Mercedes tried to bend the rules for their favor. It's not. Listen, if Mercedes wanted to bend the rules for their favor and then they get caught afterwards, after the fact by FIA because they're incompetent, is what it is. Ferrari's done that before.
King, this is where I'm with you, bro. If they didn't approve of Ferrari, why would they approve of Mercedes? It just makes no sense.
No, Ferrari's, because in the past, Ferrari had an engine thing where they I don't know, they injected something into the engine where it made it quicker.
2019. I remember exactly.
Yeah. And then they removed it.
It was a fuel, right? It was fuel back.
It screwed Ferrari Ferrari ever since. Ferrari have never been the same since that time period. So, exactly. Rules are meant to be bent, but if you get caught, you get caught. Mercedes and Red Bull will have to hold it. and they may have to take a year
No,
out to
guys,
build something
guys,
new.
I agree. If you get caught, you get caught. But Mercedes, with the DAF system, correct me if I'm wrong, guys, it was caught by the FIA. The DAF system was caught. Of course, there was backlash, but it was caught early in testing.
No, it wouldn't have been if Red Bull and Ferrari never complained, the DAS system would have stayed. It was the same thing.
But this is unprecedented, given the entire circumstance.
It's not unprecedented. Teams will complain. That's what the DAS system would have stayed, because the only reason the DAS system didn't stay, because tires are really important. In the last set of regulation, tire wear was really important. So that gave Mercedes a dominant advantage with tire wear because of the DAS system. Ferrari and Red Bull complained. If you look at Drive to Survive, they complained. They complained a hell of a lot, to the point where it got removed the season after. That's what happens in Formula One. Other teams complain. They tell FIA this is not right. FIA look at it. They decide whether they're going to remove it or not. They remove it. And if they remove it, then that team has to hold it. They have to, change their plans. It is what it is. I mean, engine, the aerodynamics, there's many things that teams have had to change because the FIA is incompetent. The front wing, the back wing, the side pods, the car. If you actually look at the history of Formula One, the FIA has always tried to hinder the top team by changing the rules. They did it to Mercedes. They did it to Red Bull. They tried to do it to McLaren a little piece. There was a year where they changed the rules of ride height and the defibrillator, and it messed up Mercedes cars, and it helped Ferrari because the Ferraris complained about it. This is the life of Formula One. You do something that's different to the norm. Someone will look at it. They'll say, "Hey, this gives them an advantage." I'm going to complain to the FIA. FIA will look at it, and then they'll change their rules. That's what the FIA do.
No. But guys, I hear you, and let's just say everything you guys are saying is absolutely correct. But my two questions still stand. Obviously, we talked about the law one, but the second one is, King, this is unprecedented because what the DAS system was, it was
not just DAS, but it's like everything in the car they've done before. So
wings,
front wing.
Can I finish my sentence real quick?
Yeah.
Still stands with everything you're saying. But I'm mentioning DAS because that was the most clear example that most people will get. With that system, that was like doping, the equivalent of doping with the Formula One car. When you when you dope, that increases the foundation you already have. This is the foundation of Mercedes and Red Bull's car, and it's not visible.
It's doping.
No, but this isn't doping, King. This is how their
is because you're making the car quicker than it's meant to be.
No. But I use doping because doping is you're already putting it into a body that exists. This is the engine itself. Whereas DAS was
instead of like eating a steroid, you're injecting it. That's the difference.
Sure, but except this steroid, as Tifosi said, it was a legal steroid. This is the difference. In the UK, weed is illegal, right? This makes sense.
Yeah.
Weed is illegal in the UK, but CBD is not. Mercedes put CBD. DAS was weed. This was CBD.
Yeah.
They put CBD.
And the FIA were within the right to make CBD illegal.
But that's the thing, like Tifosi is saying. Unlike the DAS system, this is legal. This is still legal. Like there's nothing wrong with that. But I get what you guys are saying for competition, for parity. But then I'm saying the FIA
is incompetent. So they would look at it as nothing wrong. They would have never checked it. FIA itself never actually find things.
But guys, they did check it though, as Tifosi is saying. It's not that they disregarded it. They knew they checked it.
Yeah, come on, no, they're incompetent. I don't believe that anything the FIA say. They don't check nothing.
No. What I think probably happened is they probably checked it, but they're like, you didn't. They probably just looked at the rules. Like someone who's working a 9-to-5 corporate job, like whatever, fuck it, I don't want to do what I want to do. I'm just gonna get my task done and leave. But
you did mention they
probably checked it law for law. Did Mercedes violate it? No, whatever, move on.
But you mentioned that they didn't break the rules. They didn't breach anything. But
exactly.
at the same time, it's going against everything the FIA changed the regulations for.
All right, suck it up, like King said.
Yeah,
Suck it
but
up for
then
a season.
but then it can go either way. Either the FIA are gonna amend their rules so it to be illegal, meaning that the Mercedes and Red Bull are gonna have to change their system, or they're
Next
gonna
season.
allow it.
No,
And
they should change it for next season. That's my take.
No, man.
Then Ferrari should go and do the same thing and go and make some upgrades.
But Ekman, that's my point. Ekman, they tried. They were just incompetent. Red Bull tried. Guys, did you see the report that came out today? The reason why Red Bull ratted Mercedes out. Did you guys read why they did it? Not because it was a loophole. Obviously, not because it's sincere. Not even because it harms Red Bull. It was because Red Bull were trying to implement the same loophole, but they just couldn't. Like, that is the reason, King. It's not even about, like, oh, they're whooping our ass. We can't do anything. It's like, shit, we know what they did. We don't know how to do it.
I wouldn't say Red Bull had incompetence, by the way.
Oh, yeah, but Red Bull's always been like that. They've been the evil guys.
Ekman, what is this? This is from a Red Bull account as well. This is multiple articles.
Oh, yeah, but that's Red Bull's prerogative.
No, but
if they get away with it, they get away with it.
No, but I'm saying the reason they're saying it is because they tried to what you guys or whatever people are saying is as cheating. They tried to cheat, but they just couldn't cheat.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. So they ratted. That's like when you like when you're in school and everyone's doing a test and obviously everyone's cheating off that one guy, but the one guy that wasn't given the cheat sheet, he's writing on everyone else. That's
but I'm saying but the problem with that is this isn't a cheat sheet though. They didn't break the law. They just interpreted it differently. And by the law, they are within the law, as Tifosi said. And they went to FIA Daddy and cried. That, like, guys, we can spin it however we want. I agree with you. The FIA have to change it for parity. But I am not here to King.
I'm not saying that Ferrari or what Red Bull did was a good thing. They just did what they had to.
No. Hold. King and Ekman, I completely agree with you.
Get approved.
No, I agree with you guys, but I think where I differ, but you might agree with me, is I'm not looking at Ferrari and Red Bull this season, and if you win the championship, I'm not gonna look at them and be like, okay, you deserve to win it, because the truth is this is an asterisk if they win. Not tainting it. If they win, they deservedly win because they won at 24, 25 races on track. No problem. Fine, I get that. But I will look at them.
But
me personally, being like,
but
of course not. I mean, they needed to go to the FIA Daddy to cry about it. That's what they did.
So Mercedes have gone to FIA before. Every team does it. Like, this is the part. This is a part of the game. In the end of the day, it's no asterisk on it because it's not cheating. What Mercedes did wasn't cheating, and what Ferrari and Red Bull did wasn't cheating.
No, I agree.
Buy. Whoever gets away with whoever gets away with it gets away with it. If they come and say, "Listen, Mercedes didn't do anything wrong. We're gonna keep it." Mercedes win the day.
There was no point.
But then if they go and say, "No, Mercedes did something wrong," Mercedes, Red Bull, you have to change your engine. Buy. Like that's the sport. It's not a good thing. But it doesn't really mean. But in the end of the day, it doesn't mean that there's an asterisk, because the only time there should be an asterisk is if the FIA themselves fully cheated, which was the Verstappen one. But every other season, there's been these things that have happened where cars have been changed because of FIA or because of Mercedes complaining or Ferrari complaining or Red Bull complaining or McLaren complaining or Aston Martin complaining or even Haas complaining or even other teams complaining, and then they change rules to suit whatever car they have. If they, ride heights, rear wings, front wings, steering wheels, engine settings, etc. Every team complains. Every team does it. There's no good guys in this.
King, they're going against their own word, though. They're going against the word of the FIA, because they're going against the word of they want to make the season competitive, but they're going against everything.
Yeah, but they always do that. They always go against their word. They've never actually. They're not, as I said, they're not a serious organization in my mind.
Over the years, King, they've made some terrible decisions over the years, bro.
So that's what I'm saying. So I'm saying
and more. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't interrupt. Sorry to the F1 fans. I'm saying I agree. Get this for more parity, fine, for next season or mid-season or whatever. But channel the energy to the FIA. We don't need to play this, us versus them, Mercedes versus Ferrari, Mercedes versus Red Bull. Let's channel it to the FIA because it's the FIA at the root that's not governing.
Yeah. FIA is the problem.
They changed the regulations to satisfy the diehards.
I'm not going to call Mercedes. Of course, absolutely. Red Bull with like you said, King 2021, that was corruption or cheating. At least the outcome of it was. But I'm not going to say that they cheated this time because the truth is they didn't.
No. It's not cheating. It's just they tried to bend the rule. They got caught by the teams. Other teams couldn't do the same thing.
They bent the rule only because they made a mistake. They bent the rules because they made a mistake.
Because the FIA made a mistake.
FIA made.
Yeah,
the FIA made a mistake.
So they
FIA
bent
makes
the rules
100 mistakes.
to satisfy themselves. So they bent the rules.
Is cooking.
And this is exactly my point.
No, but Red Bull and Ferrari are within their right to do that, to complain.
Facts. They are. They're always within their right to complain.
Absolutely. Anyone can complain about anything. No free speech. Free will, man. Do whatever you want. But
if you're gonna call them crybabies, when Ferrari holds up the trophies, you can hold that. You can cry as well, man. You balmy Mercedes fans.
Exactly.
Fuck Mercedes.
Dude. I hope Lewis Hamilton wins
Mercedes.
Everyone knows I hope Lewis Hamilton wins the championship this season. But many things can be true.
We all do.
Yeah, man.
I'm saying, but many things can be true, guys. Many things can be true. I'm not a cult member, so.
But it doesn't also help. It doesn't also hinder Mercedes. It hinders McLaren, which benefits me. So Lando Norris never wins a title again.
Well, I mean, to be fair to you, King, did you hear what Lando Norris said today, guys?
I was gonna ask you guys that question. Like Lando Norris came out and said that he didn't win the championship anymore.
No. It wasn't even that. It was even a worse quote that could have been. He said that he thinks George Russell's going to win the championship this year. And no, he came out automatically and said he ain't winning the championship this year, boy. That's what he said.
Pending the Mercedes stuff, you know what I mean? Pending the Mercedes stuff. Yeah, but this is my point. Augustia. Like these lot don't know what they're doing.
Yeah, but I gotta be honest. They don't know what they're doing. It's supposed to see.
Because they were Augustia. We were told Aston Martin were going to make a similar upgrade. We were told that Aston Martin were going to make a similar upgrade to make their car even better. Because look who they have at the helm, Adrian Newey. They were promised that they were going to make those upgrades too, but it was only Mercedes that got approved of it. And
no. Aston Martin's not to do with engine. What Aston Martin's going to be benefit is from aerodynamics. That's what Newey is there for. So they're going to have the design of cars is going to be completely different from everyone else because Adrian Newey is the master of aerodynamics and making a car, being able to pretty much get through a track better than anybody else. It's the car design. It's nothing to do with the engine. He's got nothing to do with that.
Yeah, that's a Honda thing.
Yeah, that's Honda.
Anyways.
That's not him. But everything else apart of the car, he'll have it 10-10. That'll be the best car by far outside of engine. I guarantee.
Yeah, dude. I agree. Tifosi's right. It's not just asked. Have you heard what Adrian Newey has said? He said by the end of the season, we're going to have a completely different car. That doesn't seem like you're starting off with a dominant car. Seems like you expect there to be challenges. Same with Williams. Didn't even do anything in the previous testing. So Williams and Aston Martin are ones to watch, not in a good way. Ferrari seems super confident. And if it wasn't for this loophole, you could probably say they're favorites to win this championship. Because at the moment, things seem to be... Lewis Hamilton hasn't ever been this optimistic since he last won a championship. Since 2021. So he is super optimistic for this season. Charles Leclerc is talking about winning until the whole Mercedes fiasco unraveled. So Ferrari definitely... they have a very stable car. It's not the supreme car. It's Mercedes by every metric. No porpoising. Their engine is dominant. Their versatility, their mileage. I mean, man, that Mercedes car... Touche. You built a beautiful car. From a car perspective, well done, guys. Well done.
Yeah, and once their engine is rerouted and they have to restart again, they can hold that.
I'm with you, King.
We'll discuss We'll discuss the look of the cars on the next show on the season preview show. This is just a mid-season. It's just the off-season talk.
Also, no, all the cars aren't out. All the cars aren't out yet.
Yeah,
that's
what I'm saying. I'm waiting for the.
And some cars are out next week as well.
So I will wait to the season preview to do all the car preview and whatnot. But we might do another off-season talk. We might do another one. We'll see before the season starts. We could do another one before. Were you gonna ask me, guys, too?
I didn't want to interrupt. You should change the title to should Mercedes engine be removed? You did.
I did. I changed a little bit of it. I changed it to heated debate.
Yeah, good. Because that's I'll get confused because it was a fun.
It was a heated debate, but it was actually a good. It was actually a good one. You know, it was a good one. You know what I mean? I enjoyed it.
Big up.
Sorry.
Big up the four of us. Big up us three. Tifosi as well.
If it doesn't get removed and George Russell wins the title, he'll be back-to-back shitty champions, and I'm done with Formula One.
No. This one
ain't George Russell. I don't care, bro. They're both.
What did Lando do?
King, it baffles me how George Russell's gonna get a much faster car than Lewis Hamilton. It baffles me. But actually,
what do you mean? What Lando did? He won because of what's it called?
Team orders.
Papaya rules. Yeah.
That ain't cheating, man.
It's cheating, bro. Papaya rules. How many times Papaya rules prevented Oscar Piastri getting more points?
Before we get the heated debate, did you guys see?
Verstappen should have won last year, and I hate Verstappen.
I don't mind him now, actually, if you think about it.
No, I still hate him. But he was the best driver last year. The best driver. This is the first season that the best driver didn't win.
I didn't like him before last season, but you know what? I have to give credit where credit is due.
He's still a prick. He tried to crash into Russell.
No, I don't like what he did, but that mentality he had was elite last season.
Alpha, Djokovic-esque.
Elite mindset, yeah, trust me. Facts.
No, Djokovic don't have that mindset. He lost in the final.
Mindset doesn't change. Mindset doesn't change anything. Mindset.
Yeah, man.
Mindset is.
He needs to retire.
He will.
Yeah, man. He's already retired, man. Carlos Sito retired him, man. You can't beat Senna and Carlos in the same tournament. You can't do it, man. He ain't got the cojones.
After he won the Olympics, it's done. He's done everything.
Yeah, man. Look, give it up. He ain't winning 25. If George Russell, I'm gonna say it here first. I'm not gonna be a part of the pod next season if Russell wins the title. I'm just saying it. I'm saying it now. I don't care no more.
What if they remove it and they still
deserve to have a faster car than fucking? He doesn't deserve to have a faster car than fucking Lewis Hamilton. I'm sorry, he doesn't.
Oh no! If they don't remove it. If he wins, regardless, I'm done. I'd rather Kimi win it. I'll be honest with you.
What about George versus Charles? Who's winning?
George versus Charles. I hope they both lose and Lewis wins.
Okay.
Yeah, man. I'm sticking with my guns. Lando Norris, Charles Leclerc, and George Russell average.
I don't think Russell's average, but
no, they are.
Second best.
Max Verstappen is by far the best of that generation. It's not even close.
Lewis Hamilton as well.
No, I was just being a hater. No, Lewis Hamilton's a different generation. He's the Sebastian Vettel, Fernando Alonso generation. He's the best of that one. And my boy Isaac Hadj is going to be the best of the new generation, man. Better than that Kimi brother. Better than that Bortoletto. Better than the mother.
If they remove the engine, Hadjar gets hit. So are you for them to remove the engine?
Yeah, because I'm hoping he leaves Red Bull at some point and gets a better pathway, just like Gasly and what's the other brother did? Gasly and Albon.
We do have to end the show soon, but I want to ask you guys real quick. What do you make of Lando Norris's comments? And any other news you want to talk about during the offseason? Any other thing you want to bring up that we haven't spoken about during the offseason?
Yeah, I do. Why is he won a world championship and he's already acting like a loser? You see, that's why it's a disgrace. He's a champion. That's a loser mentality. Oh, George Russell's gonna win the title. What a bum! Don't you have a Mercedes engine? Don't you have a McLaren car? Don't you have one of the most historic teams of all time? You're a world champion. You got number 1 on your car, and you're saying I'm gonna be 2. Oh, I hate this guy, bro. I hate him. You see, that kind of mentality shouldn't be world champion. Worst in this century. Oh, I'm gonna lose to George. Weak. I thought maybe winning a title match might get him some cojones or get him a good mentality. No, it hasn't. It hasn't. Nothing's gonna change him. Soft. That's all I gotta say. Actually, if any other driver says shit like that, fire them immediately. That's not who you should have in your car. Loser mentality. Oh, George, you're gonna win it. Oh,
Augusta?
Clip that.
What a loser, man. Yeah. What a loser.
Over to you, Augusta.
Well, look, it's surprising. Everything King said was 100% correct. Obviously, I value Lando a lot higher than King does, but it is bizarre, and it seems to be resorting back to the old Lando, than the one that won him a world championship. The Brazil-Mexico stint Lando, when he looked like a world champion, when he acted and talked and walked like a world champion. So something, I agree, it is very odd, especially given McLaren also benefit from the same loophole that Mercedes have. Sure, their car isn't as developed, but they seem to be the clearest number two. And with this new chassis system, and if they prioritize race pace over just quali sims in the Bahrain testing as well, I think they can absolutely cut the gap, if not be toe-to-toe with Mercedes. So I don't know why you're making those comments. Maybe it's mind games to put the pressure on George Russell. I don't think it is. I just think it's Lando being straight up, sincere, and transparent. So yeah, it is putting half a towel in the ring already before the fight has even begun. It's strange. Do I think it would affect him? Nah, because Lando's the kind of guy that if you give him a rocket shit and everyone else's shit, he can win the championship, as we've seen. But yeah, at the moment, I would say, like I said last season before I knew about this loophole thing, George Russell is the favorite, and I stand by that, and I think he will win the championship this year, barring any crazy change. It'll be George Russell. Don't discount Max Verstappen as well. Red Bull seem to be a lot better than we expected. And don't discount Lando Norris. Russell, Verstappen, Norris, and of course, Ferrari, Hamilton, Leclerc. Got to watch out for them. Those five. If anybody else won the championship this year, I would be very surprised.
I have a few things to add.
Go on.
Do I think it was right of him to say that? No. It's not the right mentality going into a new season, especially after you just won the championship. Do I think he's still on a high after winning that championship? Yeah. There's two things can be true at once. He could still be on a high after winning that championship. He could still be saying things that, he's still saying things. He's still saying some of these bizarre things, right? He might also be thinking, all right, let's take the pressure off myself. I've already won a championship. Three things can be true. You either take the pressure off yourself after you just won a championship. It's off season. Once the new season starts, either you start saying things that make you competitive, or you just lost it, or you just don't have that mindset. I have just a few question marks in my mind, but look, Lando's a world champion at the moment. That's all I can really say. So is in the off season. Some bizarre things will be said, but is that going to affect him going forward? We shall see. I'm surprised no one mentioned Oscar till now. Oscar, do we really need to mention Oscar Piastri right now? I mean, it's not the right time, I guess. I mean, we don't really have much to say on.
Of course he can win it. He's shown that he can win it, but I put him in the same category as Kimi Antonelli, where he's obviously the number two at McLaren. The same way Kimi is number two.
I don't want to see McLaren. I don't want to see McLaren win it next year. By the way, I don't want to say competitive stuff, but I don't want to see McLaren win it next year.
No, I'm with you. I would love to see a different team, at least challenge them. But I just think, given all the circumstances, given how much Lando is the guy, the number one guy, and given under pressure what we've seen, I think wheel to wheel, the guys that I named, Russell, Leclerc, Hamilton, Verstappen, they would beat Oscar Piastri. That's why I'm saying those five, with Lando, of course, are my favorites for this championship. And that is almost common sense. I think most of the grid would agree with me on that.
No, my favorite's Isaac Hedger. Watch out for him, man. He's in the Red Bull car. You know, he's going to show that he's the superior driver to Kimi and the rest of them, man. Hedger the Badger, fam. Hedger the Badger. Watch out. He's going to get rid of the curse of the number two driver. He's the new Danny. He's the new Danny Rick. He's gonna take Verstappen to the limit. That's what he's gonna do.
Any more off-season talk before we close out? Because we have to go Premier League show in a bit.
Is Lance Stroll fired yet or no? Is he still in the car?
Still in the car, I think.
Yeah, well then you got nothing to talk about, man. The rookie of the year is gonna be that brother that's Archibald, because he's the only rookie.
Good pick. What about Fernando King?
I don't know. Aston Martin's not looking too good right now, so I don't know if he's gonna be able to compete with the racing bulls.
Is Raphael in a seat next season?
Who?
Raphael.
What's his last name here? Okay, King, you don't remember the lore? Don't remember our lore over this year? Come on.
I don't know what you men are talking about, be honest with you.
Raphael,
remember you mentioned the Raphael driver and then some out-of-pocket stuff.
F2.
Oh yeah. Oh, also, it'll be interesting to see the livery of the Cadillac, and also how long Perez and Bottas last in that car, because eventually they're gonna want to put an American in that car.
By the way, I want to see that Thai guy that's on the pole get to F1 very, very soon.
Oh no, it's Lindabad, not Archibald. Don't know why I called him Archibald. Oh, Arvid Lindbad, or whatever his name is.
We'll coin that nickname. I want to
see the Sanapun do a lot
better
in the F2. I want to see him improving. But anyways, guys.
Oh yeah, and Colapinto will get replaced halfway through the season.
But anyways, guys. It's been a good debate, good talk. I will definitely see you guys on the Premier League show in just a bit. First and foremost, leave a like on the video on your way out. Subscribe to King's channels. I will put the link in the description of the video. Big up Augusta for joining as well. I will definitely see you for another show next week, bro. And as for the rest of you, in a bit for the Premier League show. See you guys in in a little bit, 10 minutes. I should be around there. People, it's been us. Enjoy the off season for now. Any news, we'll be here live to discuss that. Nope, I won't be. I will be back tomorrow. Not tomorrow, sorry. In a bit for the Premier League show. And I'll see you guys in a bit. Love. Enjoy the F1 off season. Like, share, subscribe. 5 subs to 550. Like the video. Big up to Fosi as well, who's in the chat. Thank you for carrying the show today, by the way. You carried the show. Big up to you, bro. See you soon.
Yeah, man.
In a bit.
Pick up.
5 minutes.